during uncertain times. Let me go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Monse Salas, and I graduated from Sonoma State University this past spring. I have a BA in sociology and a BA in liberal arts from the Hutchins School. Currently, I work as an AmeriCorps Vista for Sonoma State and the city of Santa Rosa in the Community Engagement Office, and I am also a Youth Promotor lead at Latino Service Providers.
Hi everyone, my name is Ale Gallegos. I am an accounting major at Sonoma State, and I am speaking on behalf of Latino Service Providers as a Youth Promotor.
Okay, and now I will let Ale go ahead and continue and explain the importance of mental wellness.
Mental wellness is defined as a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities can cope with the normal stresses of life and is able to make a contribution to their community. So what does that mean? It means prioritizing yourself and practicing self-care methods. So why is mental health important? It's important because it includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. It's important at every stage of life, from childhood to adulthood. Monse will now give us an insight on what's happening during these uncertain times. Monse, you're mute.
Sorry for that. Thank you. Okay, so fear, uncertainty, anger, sadness, and loneliness. These emotions are all common as our community and country reacts to the COVID-19 outbreak. Distance learning and the recent wildfires. It puts a lot of stress on us, and all of these events happening to us affects us not only physically, but also mentally. If you are feeling overwhelmed, don't let stigma prevent you from reaching out for help. The barrier to seek help is actually a lot lower because everyone is going through similar experiences. We also know that the current environment is affecting individuals who are already dealing with depression and anxiety, and those who are perhaps experiencing these issues for the first time. However, we also know that there is mental health stigma throughout the community, and Ale will actually provide us with a quick definition of what stigma is.
Stigma is when someone views an individual in a negative way because they have a distinguishing characteristic or a personal trait that's thought to be or actually is a disadvantage, a negative stereotype.
So mental health stigma includes depression, schizophrenia, alcoholism, and eating disorders, among many others.
Does anyone have an idea of how stigma is portrayed? Share some sayings that your community, your family, your friends say about mental health and all the negative stigma that comes around the idea. Feel free to unmute yourselves or type in the chat. And Magali, if anyone types in the chat, can you please let us know?
Yes.
Well, I actually wrote that in a lot of circumstances that I've seen, and sometimes even in my own family, when someone has a mental health challenge, they just refer to him as loco, está loca. And that is a huge stigma because it undermines the severe challenges that people with mental health challenges or disorders have to go through.
I feel like I've heard a lot of people say like it's like all in your head or like they're overthinking it, and I feel like that's not a good way to put it because then it's gonna make them feel like they're gonna believe it if a lot of people tell them that.
We also have in the chat someone saying that nothing is wrong with you or just downplaying someone else's challenges. That's true. And another saying is "se te va a pasar," acting as if mental health challenges is just a phase that someone goes through. And someone else has also shared that I've heard that you have to just have faith in God and He'll fix it, in quotations.
Yeah, those are definitely all sayings that at least like one of us has heard in our lifetime. Like try harder, snap out of it, it's just a phase. But knowing that you have resources and you can get help in certain places. Thank you everyone for sharing. Monse will now share with us the impact that comes with stigma.
Thank you for the transition, Ale. So the consequences of stigma can actually be quite serious and devastating. With stigma comes a lack of understanding from others, which can be invalidating and painful. But stigma also carries more serious consequences, including fueling fear, anger, intolerance directed at other people. I want to ask everyone here present, if individuals are subject to experience stigma, what do you think they are most likely to experience? Go ahead and name these examples on the chat if you feel more comfortable, or unmute yourself and you can also tell us here.
I can share. I actually feel very discouraged, like when my grandma's like, "Oh, like se te va a pasar," like it's gonna go away. It definitely hits me a lot harder because I really admire my grandma, and if my feelings aren't validated, then it makes me feel a little bit more down, right? And it's just like looking for those people who really validate what you're feeling, because anyone's feelings are validated. They are valid.
I also wrote in the chat that individuals who are subjected to stigma might also experience being made fun of or also being misunderstood. Also, we have likely to turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms, feeling like an outcast or if something is wrong with you, in quotations.
Right, all of those are examples that happen, and other ones, that may include would be reluctant to seek out treatment, just like Ale had mentioned. Social rejection and avoidance is one of them. Worsening of mental health, just like Roxana mentioned, and then it could also lead to poor quality of life and increased socioeconomic burden, and then increased feelings of self-doubt. So stigma can also cause people to doubt themselves and their abilities to achieve their goals in life. And it can lead to feelings of shame and even isolation, which is why it's so important that we, break that stigma against mental health and continue for it. And actually, Ale will now go ahead and take it over from me.
We want to remind everyone that this is a safe and open space to speak. We're here to offer support and resources. Right now, you're going to be put into breakout rooms of 3 or 4, and we'll give you a few minutes to talk about how the COVID outbreak, distance learning, or switch to the virtual world, or the wildfires have affected you personally or your loved ones. Give me 1 second, please, to put you guys in breakout rooms. Welcome back, everyone. Does anyone want to share a few things what they discussed in their group? Share in the chat, or you can unmute yourselves.
My group said that, well, most of us said that we experienced a lot of more stress under the circumstances that we're like going under, like with COVID and like the fires.
Yeah, it was definitely stressful with the fires that just happened and how like school shifted and then some people had to be evacuated and some people didn't know whether they're going to be evacuated. It was definitely really stressful.
My group shared that a lot of us, when we see someone that we haven't seen in a long time or miss them, like our initial thing is to go and hug them. But with the pandemic and keeping our distance from people, it's really hard, especially with the fires going on. It triggers a lot of scary emotions. So sometimes we need that comfort. And also, the pandemic and the fires have made everything a lot harder with like distance learning, college applications, basically everything that we're supposed to be doing. We're carrying all this extra weight on us and are meant to continue. But it's good that we have resources and safe places like this where we can talk about that.
Thank you for that. Personally, one thing that has affected me from the pandemic and the wildfires is, if you guys have been living in like Sonoma County, back in 2017, we had the Tubbs fire happen. So that was like the first year that I got evacuated, and then subsequently every year after that, we've been evacuated. So I guess, when like summer starts, there's just that fear of uncertainty. Like, I found myself feeling anxious just because, fire season is around the corner. So then I have to prepare, and then, also like, prepare mentally, but also physically, just to be, in case we are evacuated, to leave. Personally, like that just has caused me to not feel at ease, if I'm making sense. And then another thing that I like to share is, as you guys know, I graduated in spring of last year. So my graduation got canceled. And as a first gen student, that really ended up hurting me. And, still to today, I'm still having like, when I look at my graduation pictures, it just feels weird that I have my graduation stuff, but then I never walked the stage. And I know that that had like a mental toll on my family, because they really wanted me to walk that stage. And I know a lot of you guys can relate to that. If you guys are seniors, at high school, or you had anything else that, similar to that. Would anyone else like to share something?
Just wanted to say I definitely like understand like what you're saying. As a senior, ever since middle school, like I always imagined like sunrise, all these fun activities. We get to have our senior quad games and all this stuff. Like now that COVID has like happened, like we don't get like any of that. Like it's just like a little like disappointing, because like I feel like I've always like imagined like the perfect senior year, and just the fact that it's getting taken away from us, it's just like takes away from like the experience, and just definitely like takes a toll on my mental health, I feel like, because it kind of lowers like my expectations for life, I guess.
Yeah, all of these are definitely valid. And actually, Ale, if you can go ahead and put the next slide up. Thank you. Can I get the next slide after that?
Yeah, technical difficulties.
I'm sorry, it's okay.
There we go.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so for this slide, everything around us, as we've been talking, it's stressful and it affects us differently. Coping with stress during pandemic has proven to be really stressful. Public health actions such as social distancing can make people feel isolated and lonely, leading to an increase in stress and anxiety. Distance learning to some is awesome, but to others it can be daunting. Being uncertain about how graduation will look like your senior year, if you had, an event plan, if schools are opening anytime soon, are all valid reasons to make us feel stressed just because, we don't know what's going to happen. The California wildfires has led many people to be evacuated and others have lost power. Some actually don't know what they will find once evacuation orders are lifted and they are allowed to go back home. Being unemployed, working from home, or even having a hectic work schedule also amounts to stress. And now I actually want to mention some of the most common signs to watch out for that relate to stress, and those include A, changes in sleep or eating patterns, B, difficulty sleeping or concentrating, C, worsening of chronic health problems, D, worsening of mental health conditions, and E, an increase of use of tobacco and other substances such as alcohol. And then I just want to say, if you are someone or know of anyone who resonated with these points that I mentioned, know that you are not alone as you experience this. There are steps you can take to actually lower stress and reduce anxiety that can help you or the person that you know stay healthy during these uncertain times. And Ale will actually share what some of those are.
I can definitely relate to what Monse was saying in the previous slide, that lack of sleep. Eating, because we're so close to the fridge, I eat at morning, then at night, at like 12 a.m., at 1 a.m. Because we just have, we're staying inside and we just feel so much comfort at home because of the pandemic and with everything going on, that it's just so easy to lose track of taking care of oneself. So some tips for creating a sense of calm during times of anxiety. Calm your body and mind. When you find yourselves getting overwhelmed, try deep breathing. Take a pause. Prepare. Try not to panic. Focus on things that you can control. Prioritize self-care. Exercise. Go outside and spend time in nature. Get enough sleep. Spend time with your family, pets, and friends, of course, maintaining social distancing, and or get creative with virtual platforms. For example, like paint night or loteria. Anything that gets you to speak to other people and not just stay behind a screen all day. Consume a healthy dose of media. Try to minimize your social media. Nonstop media checking can lead to psychological and physical distress. And develop goals. For example, I'll make my bed today, or I'll go grocery shopping today. Practice mindfulness. Reflect on how you're feeling throughout the day, because your feelings are always valid. And reach out to others. Expand your perspective to sensing others in your community and around the world having similar experiences, because you're never alone. A friend, a neighbor, a stranger might be going through the same emotions. Monse, so how do we create a new normal during uncertain times?
I'm glad that you asked that. Thank you, Ale. So first of all, if you are feeling stressed, as I said many times before, know that you're not alone. It is perfectly fine not to know how to cope with it and with stress. Even me today, as I'm giving this talk, there's times that I just have to pause, take a breather, or walk away. So in order to create a new normal during uncertain times, We have to cultivate resilience and eliminate mental health stigma. Mental health is an important part of overall health and well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, how we act. It may also affect how we handle certain situations, how we relate to others, and how we make choices during an emergency. But I want to say the big message today is we are a common community, having a common experience. And mental health, affects everyone differently, but there's steps that we can do, such as share kindness, we can all share care, we can all share compassion, and we can all support our different networks. Even if it just means, checking in on your best friend or someone, just sending them a good morning message, acknowledging their existence. That is something we can cultivate to create this new normal. And I also want to open it up to everyone that is here present. If anyone else has ideas, please feel free to share them via the chat or unmute yourselves and, just say how are some of the ways that you are creating a new normal today.
I personally like taking my dogs on walks. Well, my one dog. And we walk around the block, or like we go to the dog park. Of course, like we wear a mask. I wear my mask. She doesn't. But that just keeps me sane. I feel like going outside, stepping outside, getting some fresh air. Um, I also like talking to friends. I reach out to my professors at times and let them know, like, difficult. It's difficult to do homework. It's difficult to study. And I ask for extensions, but definitely communicating with those around you, like to let them know what's happening, because we are all going through this together.
I wouldn't say really like trying to find a new normal. I'm more like trying to cope with the idea that we're gonna be like this for the next few months. And what I do to like keep my mind like settled is I definitely exercise a lot more. Just getting my energy out positively is what I think makes it easier instead of spending my energy doing other things. So I do exercise a lot. I've been remodeling my home a lot. And then also I've been just spending extra time with loved ones and my pets, which is pretty eases my mind a lot.
I would say the same for myself. Not so much how I'm adjusting to the new normal, but how we're coping. If I didn't have my pets, it would be really hard. I have my 2 dogs that I just kind of tell how my day went. They just look at me and there's no judgment. And it's nice to have 2 things that are just super excited about every single day. So
I've also seen the chats, people are definitely saying that, they're FaceTiming or reaching out to family more. That is something I have found myself doing. And, another thing that I've found myself in trying to create a new normal is I've actually been creating, infographics about mental health and the wellness of it, and have been putting them on my social media and just, trying to stay consistent and uploading uplifting messages. Because the way I think about it is, maybe someone will look at my story, and then even if they're just reading a quote, knowing that they're reading the quote and then having a smile on their face, that makes me happy. And with this, I also want to say that we actually, Alec, can you give me the next slide, please? Thank you. And I did catch the last comment. Someone said that they have been becoming more artsy. Yes, definitely. I found myself, that helps a lot, especially when I doodle. Or I don't know if you guys tried the new diamond painting. Me and my sisters have been doing that. And okay, thank you for the next slide, Alice. So this is the resource slide. So we have provided some hotlines. Please feel free to take a picture, screenshot, write these numbers down. So we have the Counseling and Psychological Service, known as CAPS, at Sonoma State. They are open 24/7. You can actually call them at 707-664-2153, or you can also go ahead and directly email them at caps@sonoma.edu. And then some of the hotlines that we compile are the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which is open 24/7. The number is 1-800-273-8255. And then we also have the Trevor Project, which is also open 24/7. The crisis text line, text support to 741-741. We also have the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and then the Dating, Abuse, and Domestic Violence, which is Love is Respect, at 1-866-331-9474. And then I'll turn it over to Ale again, and she will help us wrap our presentation up.
Yeah, thank you, Monsa. Feel free to screenshot this. I think they're very important hotlines that everyone should have on their contact IDs. And we're going to end with this quote. Give yourself permission to unplug and regroup without feeling guilty. You can't be there for others if you don't take care of yourself first. Saying that it's human nature to be nurturing and to take care of others, but you should also take care of yourself so you don't risk feeling burnt out or overwhelmed, because self-care isn't selfish, and there's no need to feel guilty if you need to have a good night's rest or if you have to cancel plans to recharge.
And I also want to chime in and then just say, know that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not know and feel that you don't know what you're doing. It's okay to do what's best for you. And it's definitely okay to be yourself and just take time for you. And with this, we want to thank everyone here today that came. And if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and you can unmute yourselves and tell them, or also put them in the chat box. And also, before you go, there is going to be a survey link that's going to be shared via the chat. Can you please go ahead and fill that out before you go? And I think it was just shared right now. And thank you once again.
I have a question. So I noticed that it's being recorded. Will this be available for people, or just say if like you were to email this to us for us to see it, can we share this out to other people as well?
Yeah, everything.
Yes, we will actually be putting it on our Latino Service Providers YouTube page. I can drop that in the chat right now as well. Thank you for asking. And you are more than welcome to share.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Magali. Does anyone else have any other questions they'd like to mention before we leave?
Thank you for this.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for attending. It was a pleasure to have this communication and safe space to talk.
Thank you so much. And then the link was just posted on the chat. So if anyone wants to share, please feel free to go to the YouTube channel and share it. Again, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we the only ones, Elena?
No, Magali and
Okay.
Stephanie are still on, and Amy and Jamie.
Oh, hi, Amy.
Hi, Jamie.
Okay. I don't know how to end the record button.
I think Magali has to